Live from the ABC7 Broadcast Center, this is ABC7 Breaking News.
And that breaking news is coming in from Ferguson, Missouri. A grand jury decision there is revealed. Officer Darren Wilson will not be charged in the death of Michael Brown. And right now in Ferguson, chaos as protesters now are lining the streets, outraged, smoke filling the air. Shots have been fired, tear gas has been fired, police cars set on fire, flipped on their ends as well. Moments ago, lawyers for Darren Wilson issued a statement saying in part that Wilson, quote, followed his training and followed the law when he shot and killed Michael Brown on August 9th. You're looking here at live pictures from that scene. We're looking here, watching what's happening as the crowd there is now filling the streets. Tear gas being fired left and right. As you can see, that you may be able to make out the smoke there in the scene there. What does all this mean now tonight, and what happens next? Let's check and see now what we're going to do in covering this. Jay Korf now is live in our newsroom. Jay has got the latest on what's happening with their after the lawyers for the family spoke for the family. Jay.
Well, Leon, what happened is exactly what a number of people predicted and what some people feared. The grand jury did not indict Officer Wilson in connection with this shooting. Now, leading up to this moment, demonstrators said that they would, and they now are, as you can see, protesting, believing this lack of an indictment is a miscarriage of justice.
I'm ever mindful that this decision will not be accepted by some.
Late Monday night, the much-anticipated announcement from the prosecutor came down that a grand jury did not indict Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson, indicating the evidence showed Wilson acted reasonably, not recklessly, when he shot and killed unarmed 18-year-old Michael Brown back in August. Initially, some witnesses claimed Wilson unloaded on Brown, while Brown was surrendering following a street confrontation. But the officer insists Brown was assaulting him and trying to grab his gun at the time. The prosecutor added the facts of the case and autopsy findings contradict a number of those witness accounts.
Many witnesses to the shooting of Michael Brown made statements inconsistent with other statements they made and also conflicting with the physical evidence.
This shooting and the resulting rage has fueled a nationwide debate about police misconduct, brutality, and profiling. Late tonight, the governor of Missouri called for tolerance, mutual respect, and restraint. Officer Wilson remains in hiding, on leave, and reportedly in talks to retire. The Brown family, while asking for calm, has said that they expect and demand justice for their slain loved one. Now, keep in mind, the family can still file a civil wrongful death suit against Officer Wilson, and we know that federal investigators are working on their investigation. Live in the newsroom, Jay Korf, ABC7 News.
All right, thank you, Jay. Now, moments after the decision came out tonight, Michael Brown's family issued a statement. They say that they are devastated now. Quoting here, while we understand that many share our pain, we ask that you channel your frustration in ways that will make a positive change. Well, now back down to the live pictures of what's happening in the streets of Ferguson, Missouri right now. As you can see there, the crowds there, they are gathering. They are large. There have been reports of violence as well. We've seen instances as well of tear gas being fired. Police say that gunshots have also been fired, and police cars have been set on fire. Roz Plater has been monitoring this situation in Ferguson all evening from our satellite center. She's joining us now live. All right, Roz, what are you seeing right now?
Well, it appears the chaos is really growing by the hour, by the minute, really. Protesters are gathered at two different locations in Clayton, outside the courthouse where the grand jury met, and also in Ferguson. Let's get to some of those pictures we can show you. By far, the largest crowd is gathered outside the Ferguson Police Department, where it is growing more tense by the minute. Just about an hour ago is when things really erupted. Now, there were a couple of police cars that appeared to have been set on fire, just big flames coming up from those police cars. Of course, police were lobbing tear gas along with smoke bombs, and officers brought in armored personnel carriers to try and push those protesters back. A lot of them were still trying to block those vehicles. Now, CNN is reporting that it heard several gunshots fired, what sounded like handgun fire, and some of the protesters were throwing rocks and bottles, and they damaged other police cars that weren't set on fire, breaking out the windows, and they tried to turn some of those vehicles over. Now, all of this happened just about minutes after the decision was read, and there are some questions tonight about why they took so long to do it, because as the crowd waited around for hours, the tension started to grow. We were told originally we're not going to be wearing any sort of riot gear. They didn't want it to look like the military-style police presence back in August, but indeed, once the violence broke out, the police did don their emergency and riot gear. Now, we know that the National Guard is standing by. We don't know if they have been yet called out to help these local officers with all this. But in the meantime now, things seem to be growing more tense by the hour, and we are certainly standing by to see what happens. All this is totally the opposite of what Michael Brown's family said they had wanted to see. They had called for peace, and in fact, they had called for a 4.5-minute period of silence following the decision being read, symbolic of the 4.5 hours Michael Brown's body lay on the ground after he was shot. That didn't happen, and so this chaos continues. Live in the Satellite Center, Roz Plater, ABC 7 News.
All right, thank you, Roz. And we should say this is just chaos from where we are able to see. We have not been able to basically monitor the entire village or the city area there around Ferguson or St. Louis, but these are what we are seeing. These scenes, rather, are what we are seeing now in specific spots. Right. So far, though, we're also trying to figure out what's happening here. We know that a lot of other communities around the country have been watching what's happening there, and there has been a concern that there may be violence happening outside of Ferguson as well. So far here, we have not really seen anything like that. Tom Rousey live now in Northwest with his eye on that for us here. Tom?
Leon, we're here at the White House, and it is a much different scene, like you said, a very peaceful protest going on here right now. I'm going to get out of the way, and we're going to show you a little more of what's happening. This crowd marched a long way to get here. It's swelled to several hundred of people. You can hear them chanting as we speak here at the White House. A lot of folks, I would describe them as more disappointed than angry in this verdict, but still very upset about it, as you can hear. Here's video we took. We marched with some of the protesters from U Street and 10th Street all the way down to 16th Street and then all the way down to the White House. It was quite a long way, and as they went, the crowd just grew and grew, and then a short time ago here at the White House, several hundred more people came. As I said, I would say the mood of the crowd was one that kind of expected that this was going to happen, but was still very disappointed in what the grand jury decided down there in Ferguson. So as I said, about 100, 200, maybe 300 people here at the White House right now. They're promising an even larger protest tomorrow night at Mount Vernon Square. They're planning that for 7 o'clock, but a lot of folks expressed a desire, saying they didn't want to wait till tomorrow night, so they wanted to protest tonight, and that's exactly what they're doing here at the White House right now. Live in Northwest, I'm Tom Rousey, ABC 7 News. All
right, thank you, Tom. Keep us posted. Let us know how things play out there now. That grand jury in Ferguson, Missouri was made up of 12 people, and we know that 6 of them are white men, 3 are white women, 2 are black women, 1 is a black man. Now, by law, grand juries are selected randomly from a fair cross-section of citizens. For comparison's sake, St. Louis County, 70% white, but about 2/3 of Ferguson's residents are black. Now, the grand jury's investigation is not the only process that's looking into that shooting incident. The FBI and the Justice Department are also still investigating the case for possible civil rights violations. The Justice Department is also looking into the entire Ferguson Police Department's practices. They're looking to see if there's any overall pattern of discrimination there. And there's no timeline for these investigations, we've learned, but Attorney General Eric Holder has said that he expects them to be concluded before he leaves office. Right now, we don't have a date for that, but it will be as soon as the successor is confirmed. So we'll keep you posted. Our coverage continues online tonight as well, as so many of you are sharing your opinions on social media. Kai Jackson live now in our newsroom. He's been taking a look at all that for us. Kai, what do you see?
Well, you know, Leon, there's more than one type of protest. Some protests are on the ground, as we're seeing in Ferguson, and of course outside of the White House. Other protests are happening online. Let's take a look. More than 1,000 likes already about the question that we're asking. Do you agree with what happened today in terms of the officer not being indicted? Let's take a look at some of the comments. Here we go from Brian. Brian says, good. Truth and facts prevail over threats. Moving on to our next comment. Donna says the witnesses were refuted. The grand jury did their job. A support of the grand jury in that instance right there. Helen says, now it's time for prayer and peace. That's a common refrain that we're hearing right now, including from the president just a short time ago. Ray says justice has been served. End of statement there. Thomas says this is so wrong. It starts again. Moving on from Thomas, we see Judy says, deeply saddened by all of this. God made us all and loves us all. We need to pray together. What would Martin Luther King say? Glenda says, wrong. And Barbara says, sad day, but we now must move on. And our final comment, at the end of the day, this officer will never be able to lead a normal life. That was something people said similarly in the case of Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. Leon?
You guys good stuff? All right, thank you, Kai. Join the conversation happening now between ABC 7 viewers on both Facebook and Twitter. Keep us posted. Let us know what you guys are thinking about this. And stay with ABC 7 and WJLA.com for up-to-the-minute information on the developing situation in Ferguson and across the country as well as the entire nation reacts to the grand jury decision in Ferguson, Missouri. Good Morning Washington begins tomorrow at 4:25. We'll pick up our coverage there.